After my ex cheated and destroyed our relationship, my parents introduced me to another woman. We slowly built something real. Now we're engaged and expecting. But suddenly, my ex is back. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll try. Maybe writing it all down will help me make sense of it, or at least stop my hands from shaking every time my phone lights up. I, 23, male, am engaged, expecting a baby, and finally starting to feel like life is coming together. But now my ex has re-entered the picture, and she's doing everything in her power to destroy what I've built. It's surreal. 2 years ago, I was sketching out proposal plans and memorizing ring sizes. I was certain I'd found the one. Her name was Layla, fake name, and we'd been together since our freshman year of college. She was funny, charming, effortlessly beautiful. The kind of girl people turn their heads for when she walked into a room. And she chose me. That fact alone used to keep me awake at night with gratitude. We were that couple. The ones people rolled their eyes at because we always had some cheesy inside joke or matching profile pictures. Sure, we had our fights. Nothing huge, petty stuff about texting back late or spending too much time with friends. I never imagined it could end the way it did. 10 months ago, I was getting ready to propose. I even told one of her friends about it. Not someone I was close with, just someone we both knew. I thought she'd be excited. Instead, she went quiet, really quiet. Then she asked me, "Are you sure you want to marry her?" I laughed it off. "Yeah, of course. Why?" She hesitated, then told me the truth that would break everything. Layla had been cheating on me with a guy from her friend group multiple times, and apparently half the group knew. No one told me, not one person. I thought it was a joke. I laughed, thinking maybe it was some weird prank. Until the friend showed me proof, texts, pictures, dates. I couldn't unsee any of it. She cried and said she was sorry, that I deserved better. I barely heard her. My ears were ringing. When I confronted Layla, she denied it, gaslighted me, accused me of believing lies and being insecure. When I showed her the proof, she flipped, not with guilt, but with rage. She said some of the most cutting things I've ever heard in my life. Stuff I still hear in my nightmares. I ended it that night. Walked out with nothing but my phone and the keys in my hand. The next day, she started texting. Dozens of messages. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, please talk to me," and my favorite, "It wasn't serious, it was just physical." I blocked her on everything, but it didn't stop. She made fake accounts, had friends reach out, sent long, dramatic emails. The worst part? She never even stopped talking to the guy she cheated with. They were still liking each other's posts like nothing had happened. I was shattered. Spent that summer sleeping all day and staring at the ceiling all night. Eventually, my parents stepped in. They'd seen me crash before, during high school after my grandma died, but never like this. One night, they sat me down and told me they'd found someone for me. At first, I thought they meant a therapist. But no, they meant a girl, an actual woman they were in the process of bringing to the US from the Philippines. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I know. I was shocked and honestly kind of disgusted at first. I argued, told them this wasn't the 1800s, that I wasn't looking for some mail-order bride. But they were insistent. My dad had an old army friend who had retired in the Philippines. He connected with Kitty's fake name family. Apparently they were good people, and Kitty was their youngest daughter. My mom said, "You wanted to get married, now's your chance." I was too broken to keep fighting. I didn't even recognize myself anymore, so I gave up. Let them bring her here. Her name was Kitty, and I'll admit, the moment I saw her, I didn't feel hope. I felt guilt. She didn't know me, and I didn't know her. She was sweet, polite, soft-spoken. Her English was shaky, and she looked terrified. I wanted no part of it. But then something started to change. I'll tell you how we went from that awkward, silent living room to late-night laughter and teaching each other recipes. How I started to fall in love with the woman I never asked for. And how, just as I was finally finding peace again, Layla came back. And this time, she didn't want closure. She wanted war. Update 1. When Kitty first arrived, she didn't even make eye contact with me. I don't blame her. She probably thought I was some creepy American guy whose family had bought him a wife. And to be fair, that's exactly what it looked like. The whole thing made me uncomfortable too. Her first night in our house, she sat silently at the dinner table, hands folded, barely touching her food. My mom kept talking to fill the silence, chirpy, too bright sentences about weather and food and how Kitty is such a pretty name. My dad avoided looking at anyone. I didn't know what to say to her. She was nervous, and I was emotionally dead inside. Her English was limited, but she tried. She would nod along when I spoke, even when she didn't understand. I felt like a monster. I kept wondering what she'd been told, what expectations had been placed on her. Had her family forced her into this? Was she just being polite out of obligation? She offered to do the dishes after dinner, and I remember how panicked she looked when I tried to help. She kept waving me off, muttering apologies. The next day, she was up at 6 a.m., already sweeping the front porch. My mom said, "She's just used to helping. Don't make a big deal out of it." But I could see it wasn't about helping. Kitty was trying to earn her place. She was afraid of being a burden. That's when something shifted in me. I didn't want her to feel like she owed me anything. I didn't ask for a servant. I didn't ask for her at all. But she was here now, and if we were going to share space, I was damn sure going to make it equal. So I started small. When she cooked breakfast, I cooked dinner. When she cleaned the bathroom, I did the laundry. I downloaded a Bisaya phrasebook and started practicing little greetings. She'd giggle when I got things wrong, then gently correct me. I think that was the first time I saw her smile without fear. One night, I brought out my old keyboard. I'd been playing piano since I was a kid, just a hobby. I played a simple tune and she watched like I was performing magic. Then I let her try. Her fingers were awkward at first, but when the note rang out, her whole face lit up. We stayed up that night until almost 2 a.m., trading chords and phrases. Music in English, laughter in Bisaya. She started opening up slowly, carefully. She told me about her family, 5 siblings, 2 still in school, 1 working in a bakery. Her father used to work construction until a bad fall left him limping. Her mom ran a small street food stall. They weren't starving, but they weren't secure either. She came here because the money she earned, whatever future she could build, might mean tuition for her younger sister. A proper roof for her family. She showed me pictures of them. Smiling, sunlit faces crowded around plastic chairs and rice pots. I realized I didn't feel pity. I felt awe. She had left everyone and everything she knew to help them. That took guts. Way more than I had, sulking in my parents' basement over a girl who betrayed me. We started sharing more than chores and awkward meals. She'd talk about her favorite childhood memories, mango trees and singing in church. I'd tell her about my dreams before college and the books that changed my life. She liked reading, so I gave her a few old novels. She devoured them. Sometimes I'd catch her reading with a dictionary in her lap, underlining words she didn't know. Kitty didn't just want to adapt, she wanted to understand. Eventually, I asked her if she wanted to go out somewhere. Not as a date, just to see the city. She nodded quickly, but insisted on paying for her own drink at the cafe. I smiled and let her. I think that was her way of drawing a line. She might be living here under strange circumstances, but she wasn't someone's project or charity case. On our 5th non-date, we went to a small town nearby to see snow. She had never seen snow before. She stood in it like it was magic, head tilted back, catching flakes on her tongue, twirling in circles like a little kid. People stared, but she didn't care. I laughed until I cried. That night, we were sitting in the car, heater blasting, cheeks red. I don't know what came over me, but I told her the whole story about Layla. Every ugly detail, the proposal I never made, the betrayal, the months of numbness. I didn't even realize I was crying until she reached over and held my hand. She said, "It's okay to cry, it means you still feel." I'll never forget those words. It was the first time I felt seen in months, maybe years. Not just pitied, not placated. Seen. From there, things moved faster. I taught her more piano. She taught me how to cook traditional Filipino dishes. Lumpia, pancit, adobo. We sang karaoke, badly. We started taking road trips on weekends, staying out late and sharing secrets like teenagers. One night, as we watched a movie together, she leaned against my shoulder and whispered, "I didn't like you at first." I laughed. "That's fair." "But now," she said, and her voice cracked, "you make me feel safe." I didn't kiss her then. Not until 2 days later, when we were watching a sunset from a hiking trail. She told me she loved me, and I told her I loved her back. I meant it, Not a crush, not an escape hatch. Love, the kind that grows slow and real. A month later, she found out she was pregnant. It was a shock. We sat in silence on the bathroom floor, both staring at the test. She cried first, then I cried, but not out of fear, out of hope. For the first time since my life imploded, something felt right. We decided to get married. Not because of the baby, but because we wanted to. I proposed with a tiny ring and shaking hands, and she said yes before I even finished asking. Everything felt like it was finally falling into place, but of course, it couldn't stay peaceful for long. Layla found out, and just like that, the wrecking ball came swinging. Update 2. It started with a text. Just one, and I almost didn't notice it. It came from a random number. A message that read, "Wow, moving on already? That's fast, even for you." I froze. There was no name, no signature, but I didn't need one. I would have known that voice anywhere. Even through text, Layla's bitterness had a rhythm. I stared at it for a few minutes, not knowing whether to delete it or reply. Against my better judgment, I typed back, "Please don't contact me." A minute later, 3 messages in a row. "You're disgusting. You replaced me with some desperate girl from overseas? How pathetic. You're a joke. I can't believe I ever loved you." That last one hit harder than I expected. Not because I believed her, but because it reminded me of the version of her I did love. The girl who used to sing off-key with me in the car, the one who made bad coffee but always brought it to my desk anyway. That girl was gone. Kitty noticed something was wrong when I got quiet over dinner. I told her the truth, not the filtered version, but all of it. I showed her the texts. She didn't say much at first, just quietly nodded and excused herself. She came back 10 minutes later, her eyes red, carrying a folded towel and a mug of warm tea. That's how Kitty handles hurt, with silence and kindness. But I could see the worry starting to settle in her posture. The next morning, Layla escalated. She left a voicemail. Her voice cracked with mock sweetness. "So you're engaged now? How cute. Are you going to tell her you only married her because your mommy and daddy arranged it? Bet she doesn't even speak English." Kitty listened to it by accident. I had left my phone charging in the kitchen, and the voicemail played through Bluetooth speakers while she was making breakfast. I walked in to find her frozen, holding a pan mid-air, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," I said over and over. "I'll block her. I'll make it stop." But she didn't ask me to block Layla. She just asked, "Is it true? Did they pick me for you?" Her voice was so small when she said it, I almost didn't hear her. I felt my throat close up. "They introduced us, that's true, but I chose you. I choose you every day." She nodded, but I could tell something had cracked. The messages kept coming. Layla's tone changed by the day. Some days she was venomous, calling me a failure, a traitor, a creep. Other days she was sentimental, sending half-drunk messages at 2 a.m. like, "Remember when we carved our names into that bench? And you were supposed to be my forever." I blocked her number. She started emailing me. I blocked her email. She made fake Instagram accounts. I reported them. Then it got worse. She got her friends involved. Suddenly I was getting messages from people I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Mutual friends, old classmates, acquaintances from college. Comments like, "Dude, you really imported a wife? Is this some green card arrangement? Yikes, you must be desperate." They called me disgusting, manipulative, exploitative. Some even messaged Kitty in English so she would understand the insults. They called her a prostitute. A mail-order bimbo. Said she was using me for citizenship. She cried for the first time in weeks. Not quiet tears, real sobs. She said she was ashamed that her family back home would be devastated if they saw those messages. That maybe this whole marriage was a mistake, that she didn't belong here, that she'd brought shame to both of us. I held her for hours, whispering how untrue it all was, but words felt small compared to the flood of hate being directed at her. That night, I gathered everything. Screenshots, voicemails, emails. I printed them out, highlighted dates. I built a folder and went to the police station to file for a harassment report. It wasn't enough to press charges, not yet, but I wanted to document everything. And I started talking to a lawyer. The legal side was slow and frustrating. They told me that unless Layla made threats or crossed physical boundaries, I'd have to rely on protective orders, and even those take time. But what really pushed me over the edge was a post. Layla made a vague post on Facebook, tagging mutual friends. No names, but everyone knew. It said, "Imagine thinking love is real when your relationship was arranged. Imagine marrying a stranger just to get over someone." Sad. She posted pictures of me and Kitty, photos she had clearly taken from my private account or group tags. Kitty saw them first. She didn't say anything. She just turned her phone toward me with shaking hands. Her silence was heavier than any scream. That's when I knew something had to give. I wrote a long post. Not a public one, but a private letter. I poured everything into it. The betrayal, the healing, the confusion, the growing love I found with Kitty. I didn't post it yet. I didn't even know if I should. But I printed it out and read it aloud to Kitty. It ended with, "You were never a backup plan. You were the unexpected miracle that showed up after everything fell apart. And I will protect you. From her, from them, from anything." Kitty cried again, but it was different this time. A soft, grateful kind of crying. We decided to move. Nothing too dramatic, just a new apartment across town, something fresh. Kitty deleted her social media. I restricted mine. We started planning our wedding in quiet. But Layla wasn't done. She sent one last message through a new number. "You'll regret this. I know who you really are, and I'll make sure everyone else does too." This wasn't about love. Not anymore. This was about control, and I was done letting her hold the strings. Update 3. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Kitty was in the kitchen making breakfast, and I was folding laundry in the living room. It was a normal day, quiet, peaceful, one of the few we'd had in weeks. Then she dropped the pan. Not slipped. Dropped. I heard the metal clang before I saw her, clutching her side, breathing hard. I rushed over, heart pounding. She was pale, sweating, unable to catch her breath. Her voice was thin, strained. "Something's wrong." The ER waiting room was a blur of white light and buzzing fluorescent bulbs. I paced like a lunatic, hands shaking, thinking of every horrible thing that could go wrong with a pregnancy. Kitty was 19 weeks along, far enough to know what was at stake, far enough for fear to have teeth. After what felt like hours, a nurse finally called me in. It wasn't anything life-threatening, thank God. The doctors said it was a stress-induced episode, elevated blood pressure, dehydration, and a minor contraction scare. But if the stress continued, the risks would increase. Preterm labor. Complications. Worse. They asked if anything had been bothering her. She hesitated, then told them about the harassment, about the messages, the slurs, the constant fear. The doctor looked at me, calm but firm. "Whatever's happening outside of this room, it needs to stop, now, for her health and the baby's." Something in me snapped, not in anger, in resolve. Layla had been poking at the edges of my life like a stray match, but now she'd tossed the whole thing into gasoline. I drove home that night with Kitty sleeping softly beside me in the passenger seat, one hand resting over her belly. She looked peaceful again. I realized I hadn't seen her like that in weeks, and I knew I couldn't protect her by staying silent. I had a choice. Either keep hiding, hoping Layla would get bored and vanish, or speak the truth, loud and clear, and let the world see what had really happened. So I wrote the post, not this one. That one was anonymous, written on a throwaway Reddit account under a generic title. "My ex is harassing my pregnant fiancée because I moved on. Should I go public?" I laid it all out. The cheating, the aftermath, the arranged setup that turned into something real. The harassment, the messages, the social media attacks. I didn't name Layla. I didn't even name Kitty. But the story was unmistakably mine. I ended it with this. We didn't meet like most couples, but we built this life together, brick by brick, with patience and love. And now she's being called names, mocked, threatened, just because someone from my past can't stand the fact that I found happiness without her. I'm done being quiet. I won't let my future wife be the target of someone else's bitterness. She deserves peace, she deserves dignity, and I will fight for both. I hit post. Then I closed my laptop and waited. The post exploded overnight. Thousands of comments. Messages of support, DMs from people who had gone through similar things. Some called it romantic, some called it tragic. Many said Kitty was brave. A few guessed Layla's identity and said they'd seen similar behavior from her in the past. What I didn't expect? A message from someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year, Layla's old roommate. She said, "I just wanted to say, I saw what she did to you. I kept quiet for too long. If you need proof for anything, I'll help you. A second message came from someone in Layla's old friend group. She's always been like this. When people leave her, she loses control. I'm sorry for what you're going through. It was like a dam breaking. People started backing me up, calling her out. Screenshots I hadn't even seen began surfacing. Messages she'd sent to others, mocking me, calling Kitty a charity case, bragging about how she'd broken me before. I gave it all to my lawyer. We filed for a protection order. It's still in process, but the evidence is strong. In the meantime, Layla's silence has been deafening. No more texts, no more voicemails. Maybe she realized the story isn't hers to spin anymore. As for Kitty, she smiled again yesterday, a real one. We walked to the park, just the two of us. She held my hand like she used to. She started journaling again, writing about baby names, sketching nursery ideas. I can see her beginning to breathe freely again. It's not over, I know that. The legal stuff still has to go through. The wedding plans are quieter now. No big celebration, just a small ceremony in spring. We're building our life day by day. But the fire that tried to burn us, we walked through it. Together. Update 4. It's been 6 weeks since I posted that thread. The chaos died down faster than I expected. The messages from Layla stopped. Her friends, once so eager to pile on, either disappeared or quietly deleted their comments. A few even messaged apologies, half-hearted ones, but I appreciated them more than I expected to. The protection order was granted. It's temporary for now, but it means Layla legally can't contact me or Kitty, directly or through anyone else. If she does, she faces real consequences. I don't know if that scares her or if she just got bored, but either way, the silence has been healing. Kitty's glow came back. That's the only way I can describe it. Like a light in her chest flickered on again. We painted the nursery last weekend, yellow, with soft gray stars. She picked the colors. I mostly held the latter and made bad dad jokes. We still talk about everything. We agreed early on that silence would never be our coping mechanism again. She told me she's not afraid anymore. Not of Layla, not of her past, not even of what people say about how we met. Because we know the truth. We're real. I never thought I'd be that guy who falls in love with someone his parents introduced him to, like it's a family business deal. I resisted it, fought it, resented it. But looking back now, maybe love doesn't always come in through the front door. Sometimes it sneaks in through the back, while you're too busy grieving something else. Kitty didn't save me. I wasn't some broken man she glued back together. We grew into something new, something quiet, stable, honest. The baby's due in a few months. We don't know the gender yet. Kitty wants it to be a surprise. She talks to her belly every night in Bisaya, and I listen even though I only understand half the words. It doesn't matter. The love is fluent. As for Layla, I haven't heard from her. I haven't checked her social media. I don't care what she's doing, and I hope she never cares about what I'm doing again. A part of me still thinks about her. Not fondly, not angrily. Just with quiet acknowledgement. She was a part of my life. I loved her once. That's true. But the version of her that exists now, the one who tried to burn down my future because she wasn't part of it, that's not someone I recognize. Last week I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew it was from her. I didn't open it. I threw it into the fireplace. Some things don't need to be read to be understood. This morning, I watched Kitty walk barefoot through our apartment, her hand cradling her belly, humming a lullaby her mom taught her. I felt something I haven't felt in years. Peace. Not the kind that comes after revenge. Not the kind you get from winning. But the kind you earn, slowly, painfully, by choosing to move forward, no matter how many hands try to pull you back. To anyone out there being haunted by your past, you're allowed to rebuild. You're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to choose peace over retaliation. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for surviving. I didn't write this for sympathy. I wrote it so I wouldn't feel like a ghost anymore. But if it helps someone else breathe a little easier, then maybe that's enough.